Yes, the next Porsche 718 is in fact going to be produced with an internal combustion engine, something that we knew was going to happen because Porsche has realized, they said, the CEO says it themselves in this article here, that they realize that the sports EVs are just not doing that well. We talked about that here on the channel before. So it's a big risk to make the 718 only electrified when you have the opportunity to have it a hybrid and also, of course, with internal combustion engine. So great news from Porsche. I wanted to see this, and it looks like it's officially now decided that they are going to put some noises. Gonna put a heartbeat in the next 718. So we're gonna have a look at the new renderings as well from an independent artist. I like these renderings a lot. I think it's very close to what the production version is going to look like. I'm gonna link his Instagram in the description so you can go and check out all of his work. Very talented artist. Before we jump into Photoshop and have a look at this collage that I put together here with the old one, and then we have the new one to the right side. I like both of these designs. I'm going to let you know which one I prefer when it comes to overall Porsche design DNA. Before we do that, let's have a look at this article from Car Scoops, linked down below as well. So Porsche's next 718 to borrow 911 power, but purists may not approve. Powertrain could be sourced from the Porsche's 992.2 GTS in a quest to lower development costs. I think that is a great idea. If you have an engine that already is in the 911 lineup that actually fits in the new Cayman and Boxster chassis, why not just use that one? Just pop it in to the new chassis that we have right here. Porsche is working on combustion versions on its next Gen 718 series. The hybrid flat six setup from the 911 GTS could power top tier trims. Electric and hybrid 718 range will be introduced in phases starting from 2026. So next year, we're going to see this in the full production form. I think it's going to be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit more what we have going on in car design today in general is just a little bit more static, a little more boxy, sharp corners, something I'm not so sure about when it comes to, Porsche DNA. We're going to have a look at the renderings in a minute here. Porsche has been busy rewriting its own playbook lately. The latest in that ongoing saga is the decision to bring combustion engines back to the next generation 718 Cayman and the Boxster that until recently were destined to use solely battery electric powertrains. And that would be, as I said, one heck of a risk for Porsche. Because they see the stats and they know it's probably not the way to go, specifically when it's an important model like the 718. The internal combustion options will only sit at the very top of the range. And I think that is only going to happen in the first maybe 2 or 3 years. And then Porsche is going to realize that, hey, we should probably bring in some internal combustion engine options for the lower trims as well. I don't want these, I said it in my previous 718 video, where it felt like Porsche was trying to make these internal combustion engine versions of the 718 next generation. They tried to make it extremely top tier. I mean, way more expensive than the EVs. And that is not something I want to see. And if we do that as well, it's going to intrude on the territory of the 911s. We need to keep the pricing underneath the 911, of course, even if we still have the internal combustion engine options here. New information suggests that these mid-engine holdouts might be getting something even more intriguing, namely a hybrid flat six borrowed from the 911 itself. So the CEO of Porsche, this is what he said. We have seen a clear drop in demand for exclusive battery electric cars, and we are taking that into account. So great, they're actually looking at the data, the facts, what is going on, and then making adjustments accordingly. That is what all car companies need to do. We can still have, EVs for regular, Ioniq 5s and stuff like that from point A to point B, driving around the city, doing some errands. EVs are great for that. But when it comes to sports cars specifically, I mean, Porsche, it's all about handling, it's all about noise. It's very hard to make that a great selling point by having it a full EV. So I'm glad to see this, of course. The most likely setup for the next Cayman GT4 RS and the Boxster Spider RS is the T-hybrid powertrain from the 992.2 GTS. And this system pairs a twin-turbo 3.6-liter flat six with a single electric motor and produces a combined 532 horsepower, 449 pound-feet of torque. Now, these numbers in this type of package that the new 718 Cayman Boxster is going to be, those numbers sounds absolutely fantastic to me. I'm not sure if they're going to keep the 532 horsepower, because it honestly feels maybe a little too much, to be honest, for a smaller car than the 911 that's supposed to be a little bit more nimble. They might detune it a little bit. I think that would make sense, to be honest. And this is a healthy increase over the naturally aspirated 4-liter flat six in the outgoing Cayman GT4 RS with 495 horsepower. But honestly, I think 495 feels more right for some reason. 532. It's not a big difference, about 30 horsepower, something like that, 35. But still, I'm looking forward to see if they're gonna detune this engine. So the 718 twins will retain their signature mid-engine layout, of course, preserving the handling balance that defines them. The only snag is that the hybrid powertrain is exclusively available with the 8-speed dual clutch automatic, which is a great automatic, but it would still obviously be fantastic if Porsche could bring back the manual transmission. The 718 is a vehicle that I feel is just made to have a manual option. The sizing for it, 2-seater, proper sports car. It's not too big, mid-engine. You definitely want to have it with a manual transmission, but we're probably not gonna get it. And this could quietly mark the end of the stick shift era for the 718 lineup. So here we have some of the renderings, and I do really like what I see here. It looks very clean, very much like the spy photos that we've been seeing. And the rear end looks beautiful as well. I really hope we have this integrated ducktail in the production version, and 2 straight lines like this. Very cool to see, with Porsche illuminated in the middle. Have a nice looking diffuser in the lower section, this being the GT4 RS probably. With the rendering here, you have this big wing up top. Beautiful sculptured fenders here as well. You can look at the side view. Love these wheels. These are the current wheels, of course, but the proportions look very, if you look at the EV that they're testing right now, the proportions look very similar to what we have in the current 718, and I think that is great. We don't need to switch it out too much, because if it's not broken, why fix it? This looks beautiful. We have some nice flow here as well. We're gonna look more in detail on this in Photoshop. Very chiseled front end here compared to the current generation for sure. Lower section looks to be very similar to what we have now, but this is probably something that is going to change for the production version and not look too similar to what the one we have right now. So the hybrid sports cars will have more than enough power. We expect them to be slower than the fully electric 718 variants in a straight line. However, Porsche said in my previous video, we talked about this as well, that Porsche is pretty confident that the internal combustion engine versions are going to handle way better than the EVs because of the weight, the reduced weight, of course, that we have in internal combustion. We don't need this heavy battery at the bottom of the vehicle. So, I mean, if I was going for a new 718, I would, definitely wait until they drop the internal combustion engine versions of this. So independent CGI artist Antoine Brigaud has created the renderings of the new ICE-powered Cayman GT4, and those are the ones we're going to have a look at here. As I said, I'm going to link his Instagram down below. The fully electric versions will arrive first, with the hybrid successors to the GT4 RS and the Spider RS joining later in the model cycle. And here we have the GT4 RS that is currently on sale. Maybe they stopped selling it. I'm not entirely sure if it's still on sale. So with that said, let's jump into Photoshop here, have a look at these designs and these renderings. Learn design sketching online with me. My online class is now only $47. If you have any desire to pick up the skill of sketching products using simple tools such as just a big pen and some cheap print paper, this is something you want to check out. Now, over the years, I've taught over thousands of students from all around the world how to sketch cars and products using my simple sketching techniques, and most of them have seen amazing results from my classes. Analog Designer Pro Pack is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. You also have a lifetime access to all the videos. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or simply visit analogdesignerpropack.com. I mentioned before, I think these are very close to what we're gonna see in the production version of the Cayman GT4 RS. And you can see it right here. Now, this is the Instagram account if you want to go and check out the renderings and the different cars that this artist is doing on his account. Now look at the front end of the new renderings here. This is what I'm not so sure about, even though I do think this is very close to the production model. What I don't like to see is Porsche getting more static and more squared off. I know we need to move on at some point from rounded headlights, but Porsche to me, compared to pretty much every other brand, it has always had this softness to it. And I feel with this type of integration in the front end, definitely gets a lot more chiseled. We have some nice defined body lines over the front end, creating a lot nice muscles over it. And we also have these big intakes in the lower section. This one's of course looking to be the internal combustion engine with the intakes right here, massive intakes on the sides, looking great. Classic layout with two big intakes on the side, one small in the middle, and then another one on the other side there as well. The wheel design looks great as well. Looking at it from a side view, you can see just how similar it is to the current GT4 RS. I actually think the artist maybe took the same body lines and just changed out the graphics for this. And I think that is pretty much what we're going to see in the new generation as well. It doesn't look like Porsche is going to mix this up too much and create a completely brand new design for this. I do think this area is going to change a little bit and be more static and maybe not have this separated piece here. I'm not sure because I don't think we've seen the internal combustion engine out testing yet. So I'm not sure what the side blade is going to look like, but we're definitely going to have one because this being a mid-engine vehicle, we need to have an intake right here or maybe up here or something like that to cool, of course, the mid-engine that sits right behind the driver. Proportions look great as well. I love the graphics in the rear specifically with the two parallel lines like this going into a ducktail in the rear and this hanging big wing park bench that we have in the rear end. It just looks great. Usually I'm not a fan of big wings like this on pretty much any car, but Porsche has always managed to make them look like they fit the overall design, and that is happening here as well. Now this is a very interesting rendering here because this is a straight front view. You can clearly see that this is way more defined in the body lines in the front specifically than what we have right now with these two lines here and this big chamfer going down and creating the housing for the headlight unit. The headlight unit looks pretty cool as well, very Taycan inspired, which is not a bad thing, but honestly, looking at the front end of the current one, I do prefer these soft and rounded headlights that we have with the radiuses in each and every corner, and also this little chamfer right here, as you can see, creating a nice housing for the headlight unit in the front end. But it looks like the artist here took this entire front end and just applied it onto the new one. I do think this is going to change in design, the lower section, this part right here, from what we have in the current one, to separate it a little bit more for the new generation, of course. It looks maybe, I'm not sure if this is the intake right here where air flows in right here and then shoots up on the hood. Not sure if Porsche is going to integrate something like this, a Pista style, integrated front wing in the actual bodywork of the vehicle. It would be cool to see for sure. And I really like this design. It's not a bad looking design. I just wish we had a little bit more softness in specifically the headlight unit and also this fender here. I want to have more of a rounded feel and smoothed out features instead of these sharp radiuses and chamfers that we have going on here. We talked about the side view already. Proportions look spot on to me. Very beautiful looking car with this soft, these are the organic feel, lines I want to see in Porsche, and also the greenhouse drawing down the A-pillar is going to connect straight into the front end, the actual center point of the front end right there. This is a key graphic for me. The rear end and the tail light design for this look stunning. First of all, we have this chamfer underneath the key graphics right here, illuminated Porsche. This would actually be very cool to see if they actually implemented the illuminated Porsche letters in the back and have that as a separation, so we not just have light bars on every single vehicle. I want to have some separation, some uniqueness to it, and I think this would be a very good idea to just have Porsche illuminated to separate the two light bars and have a distinct middle point of that. In the rear end, I think we have the same diffuser like we have in the current GT4 RS down here. It took the same one and just applied it here. This is not another detail that is probably going to change and not look exactly the same as it does in the current one. I've always loved these taillights that we have in the current generation. We also have this dovetail integrated here looking beautiful, because these with the black housing and two small bars like this of LED in the middle, it looks great. Even though these LEDs, normally I would like the LEDs to follow the outline of the housing for the taillight unit itself, but in this case it actually looks very, very cool to just have two static small little LEDs in the center portion of the blacked out housing, looking great. Wheel design fantastic as well on the current one with the silver wheels, and of course the front end, which I feel feels more in line with Porsche DNA than the chiseledness that we have going on here. But I do think this is what we're gonna see moving forward from Porsche, a much more defined sections of the front end specifically as they go into the headlight unit in the front. So it's going to be very interesting to see, and now I'm not as worried anymore about the 718. If Porsche, I mean, they are doing it, putting internal combustion engines into the new 718, I'm not worried about sales anymore. I was very worried when they said it's going to be an EV only, because I don't think that is a good idea for sales. Porsche is probably thinking that they're gonna create the top tier level. This is my reasoning behind why they want to price the internal combustion engine so high for the new 718. They've started out as a full EV. Now they're coming to the realization that this is not a good idea, as we talked about. It's probably not going to bring in as many sales as possible. It's going to cost them probably a lot of money now to try to figure out how to fit this 911 engine in here. And they need that additional revenue from the buyers of those initial internal combustion engines to cover that cost. And then after a couple of years, that cost can then spill over to create some less expensive internal combustion engines for the 718. That is at least what I hope the plan is, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see.